know this looks completely insane. However, a few weeks ago, I did confess that this is one of my biggest regrets. I don't like this journal. I never use this journal. And I spent a lot of money on this journal. And yet it just sits on that shelf taunting me. So today I thought I would take drastic action and do something I never thought I would do to such an expensive journal. And that is destroy it. But to see if I can turn it into something that I actually enjoy using. So, was this a big mistake, or will I create something I love? Let's find out. In the video I made where I discussed the fact that I regretted this purchase, there was a couple of things. I don't particularly like the cream paper. Also, I don't find it takes mediums particularly well. However, thinking about it, I have recently been enjoying working on black card a little bit more than I have done in the past. And I've actually ran out of black paper in some of the journals that I do have. So I thought I could make a journal just using black card. Now, yes, I could have kept it in this journal, but I think particularly when it comes to using black card, I find it a whole A4 sheet quite intimidating. So that's what I've decided to do. By chopping it down and putting it into a new journal, I am cutting down the size, and so it will be an A5 sheet in total, and I feel that is going to be a lot less intimidating. So I pulled all the pages out, I cut them to size. Because this journal had rounded corners, I rounded the bottom end of the corners as well, because I think that looks quite nice. It gives quite a nice sort of finished feature. And yeah, I thought, why not? I've not made a journal before with rounded corners. So I do the same as I do when I make any journal. I am getting some bits and pieces together to make a signature. This time we're not varying the papers. I am just literally using the black card, and then I've decided to take out the craft card from the journal to create the cover. Now I have to say, I will probably make sort of the sketchbook element of this again with the cream card, because I was also thinking about that. I think that I would sketch on it okay. I don't like the way it takes the mediums, but I think just general graphite pencil and sketching, something to have in my handbag, would work. So I think once I have finished making this journal, I will also kind of pull out all of those cream cards as well, add a craft cover like I have done with these black ones, and make a pile of sketchbooks to use in the future. So that way we are going to get the bulk out of what we have left in the journal that I've actually ripped apart. So the next thing we need to do is bind it. When I'm binding it, I use bulldog clips to hold everything in place, create 3 holes using a pokey tool, and then stitch it together. I just use embroidery thread. I mean, it is good to use wax thread, but you can just about see I've got a candle in the corner there. I find if I rub a bit of thread against a candle like that, it adds a bit of wax to it, and so it works the same. So I stitch down the centre, then from the outside do the top, then I go back through the centre on the inside, and then come back in at the bottom of the journal. Once I have done that and I come into the centre, I just loop that on the underneath of the big stitch and tie it in a knot. And that's how easy it is to put a signature together. Today I decided to try something different to my normal form of creating sketchbooks, and I'm actually going to make a traveller's journal. So essentially this is a kind of wallet style cover, and it allows you to interchange your journals. So I could put in these sketchbooks that I'm making today with the black paper, but equally I could switch it out for the ones that I'm going to make with the rest of the journal, the cream ones. And so if I was going out and about, I could have a journal with the black paper, I could have a journal with the cream paper, and I would be all ready for arting on the go. Now, I have to give a shout out to Sylvia from Tandy Art Studio. She's an amazing mixed media artist. I absolutely love her. She's got such a fantastic loose style. But anyway, on her Instagram, I saw her make one of these out of one of these plastic folios, and I thought it was so funky. I absolutely had to give it a try. Now, the ones that she did, she had the coloured zip, and I couldn't find those anywhere. I could find ones with a coloured zip that had a pocket, but not ones that were plain like this. So I'm definitely going to be a hunt for those because I think they're really fun. So I've just added some holes and some eyelets tied some funky coloured elastic in, and that is essentially there, the traveller's notebook just there. I think it looks really fun. I decided it does need a tie, so I just added a few extra holes at the sides before I started decorating the front covers of my individual traveller's journals. So for this, I just redid my bit box, and I had this piece of card that I'd obviously done some work on before. I think that was actually kind of a shaving foam technique when I did it. I was at a workshop with Leonie. And I just sort of added that down, and I brought out my tempera sticks as well. I was very inspired by Sylvia's art, and she's very loose and do you know what I mean? She just makes it look so easy. She just sort of like scribbles a bit here and scribbles a bit there, and then the next minute there's an amazing bit of artwork. And I tried it and it didn't work quite so easily with me. So there's definitely skill involved and something that I need to practice. But I did enjoy just sort of like letting loose and playing and not being overly concerned about how it works. So I decided to make this little sort of black and white stripy thing for this little moon rat thing to sit on. The little moon rat is from one of my digital collections from the Princess of Hearts, and I just sort of tried scribbling with my acrylic markers over the paint markers. So I did go back and forth with this quite a lot. I didn't like the black lines, so then I went over with white lines. I tried to soften it by adding little dots. I tried to make it okay by adding a little bit of edging with some black ink, and then I kind of added doodly border in just a minute. I'm trying to pull it back. To be honest, it looks all right, but I think I was just so far outside of my comfort zone while I was creating this. I just wasn't sure in the moment. But I think that's one of the good things about being inspired by different artists here on YouTube. It maybe pushes us outside our comfort zone, and we learn something in the process. So finally, I just finished this off with a little sentiment, and it just says happiness comes from the heart. And that is this sort of first little journal or first little signature ready to go into my traveller's notebook, all done. So for the second one, again, I redid my bit box, and ironically, I've ended up with images from that same digital collection. So this one, I felt a lot more me. I was definitely leaning into my love of Alice in Wonderland. I pulled out this stencil of a great big club, sketched through it with my acrylic markers, and filled that all in with the black pen. And essentially, I was kind of wanting to make a tree looking thing with the club shape. So I've got my little cards. I love these little characters. They are so cute. I think in the collection we have heart, club, diamond and spade. So they're all in there. But today we've just got heart and spade. And then I want to give that club a little bit more decoration. As I said, I kind of wanted it to look a little bit like a tree, and I want to create a little scene. So I pull out some more of my acrylic markers and try and build this up a little bit. So we just give these little characters something to stand on. I always feel that my images should be grounded. I hate images floating, so needed to be grounded. But because I thought by the time I'd put my little card characters down, I'd lost the essence of the club. You couldn't really see what it was meant to be. So I added these little dangles so you could definitely see that it was meant to be playing card motifs. Of course, I had to add the little dangles and doodles in there. And then I wanted to add some roses to the tree. So I was just sort of layering these up. I started off with a dark red, then put some of this pink in, then tried to pick up the highlights with a paler pink. And then eventually I go in with white, but you can see it gradually coming to life. It looks a bit strange, and then you start to put those highlights on, and it definitely kind of comes to life. So we're going to add a few little leaves, and then once I did that, I decided to add some dots as well. And I have to say, this one just felt more me. I really enjoyed leaning into the Alice in Wonderland, and I was like leaning into my style, so I definitely felt more confident with this one than I did with the other one, although I did enjoy the experiment of the other one. Even though I was experimenting with the other one, they both get a doodly border because it's me. And finally, I'm just going to finish this off with some nice juicy white highlights because it makes all the difference. Finally, I'm adding a sentiment that's actually coming from a free kit that is going to be available from the next hobby school event that I do. If you want details for that, it will be in my newsletter and probably in the community tab when I can share. But I sort of just nicked a sentiment from there because it was really handy, and it was like where imagination grows, which seemed perfect for this little journal.
Finally, we need to add them both to this little file folder. And now we're going to see where the magic happens and what makes this so funky. So of course, you can open the zip and you now have a pocket. So you can make it look really cool and almost like a shaker element. So I thought that was quite fun. And so I've added these hearts and these sequins. Of course, as you're out and about crafting, you could pull one of those out and stick them onto the page. But you can also use it as a bit of a pencil case. So you can stick some pens, bits and bobs in there that you think you might use. And essentially that's all you need. This little traveller's notepad, a few pens in the back, and you're all ready to go and craft on location. And I love how both of these little journals look.
I love it. I think it's really cute. I definitely think I'm going to use this more than I used the original journal. We do also still have quite a lot of the original journal left, so we still have potential to make more journals, which is always exciting because I do enjoy a good journal build. If you would like to see those journal builds, do stay tuned. Please consider liking and subscribing because that will no doubt come up in the following weeks and months. If you enjoyed that video, you may enjoy these ones. Take care, and I will see you guys again next Friday. Bye.